Hi.
I don't think we're live yet.
Yes, we are live. Hi, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to yet another episode from Redalia Workspaces. Redalia is a co-working space. We're located at 43B in Mina Crescent off Towing Street. And we are a co-working space. We have meeting rooms, boardrooms, and every Monday at 10, we talk about business. So my name is Florence Chikeze, and I am the team lead for Redalia. And with me here today is Yemisi Alabi.
Hi.
So Yemisi has over 8 years experience in project management and has worked with local and international businesses, and currently she's independently working with small businesses, project managing their projects. So today she'll be speaking on implementing project management for small businesses. So today, if you have questions about project management, or if you're having difficulty implementing project management in your business, this is a special time for you to ask your questions. Put your questions in the comment section, and we will take it off from there. So Yemisi, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Yemisi Alabi. I didn't plan on starting project management as a career. I kind of stumbled into it, and it's been fun all the way. I love project management. It's my life. I like to say it's my life. It gives me the opportunity to explore different sectors. I studied elect as my first degree, and having to manage projects that have to do with oil and gas. I know nothing about oil and gas. I mean, working on a project, you get to have insights on oil and gas. I've worked on construction projects, media and entertainment projects. Media and entertainment projects, by the way, are fun. So yes, that's me in a nutshell. I've managed a number of projects across different sectors, and it's been an amazing journey.
Thank you. We are really glad to have you today. Okay, so what was the first project that you managed?
The first project I managed was an oil and gas servicing project. We're building a PNG station, a CNG mother station for a client, and I was a project engineer on the team, and it was fun. I got to see P&I. I got to see things like P&ID diagram. What's P&ID? That was when I learned P&ID. Process and instrumentation diagram, UFD designs, PFD design, so I got to interact with a lot of other disciplines, and we executed the project and we delivered the projects, which is how you define project success, ability to deliver on a project. So
okay. Yeah. So the first thing she mentioned now, the ability to deliver on a project is when you've already know that you really completed the project.
Yes. Deliver the project successfully.
Yes. Okay, so back to this. Can you explain, because many people may not even understand what we are talking about. What is project management? What are the terms that you talk about when you talk about project management?
Okay. First of all, a project is a temporary endeavor taken to execute, to produce a unique product or service. It's defined temporary because it has a defined beginning and end. You start it and it's going to end. That's the difference between a project and a process. A process ideally is an iterative, it's a repetitive and ongoing process. You keep doing it, it doesn't stop. A lot of businesses are run by processes and that's operations, yeah. But projects have defined beginning and defined ends. So managing a project is the discipline of coordinating, planning, resources, and different aspects of the project to deliver it. So that's really what project. In very simple terms, it's just the discipline to plan and organize yourself and execute a project according to plan. In simple terms, that's what project management really is.
Okay, can you define that again? The discipline
to plan, to coordinate, and to manage the different aspects of a project, including its resources. There's so many diverse aspects of a project. So the discipline to sit down, plan, manage, coordinate, and apply all the skills, different skills and services to make the project work. Essentially, that's what project management is.
Okay, so must you be like a certified project manager before you manage a project?
No, you don't have to be. However, you have to deploy the tools or the basic I don't know. For me, I don't know the right vocabulary it is. You have to deploy the tools needed to execute a project, and these tools are not necessarily known by those that haven't, gone through the training of project management. You get, so sometimes, for instance, project management has 9 knowledge areas. There's the human resource, there's the scope, there's the cost, there's time, there's quality, there's procurement. There are different aspects, and most times small businesses know all these aspects of the projects, but sitting down to plan for each of those parts of the project is rarely done. And when that doesn't happen, most times that's what leads to project failure. So essentially, project management is knowing these key areas and then planning for them before they happen.
Okay. So basically, you can see that someone who is just starting a business, if you understand the process of project management, you can actually implement project management.
Kind of, but in addition, a lot of times when you're implementing projects, there are different sides to the project, and so what happens is, as you're planning, you don't have monopoly of ideas, and you don't have the monopoly of knowledge to execute that project. So essentially, what happens is you ask questions from different experts. Their input enables you to make accurate decisions and accurate plans that will fly. So as a project manager or an SME, you might not know all there is to the project. You would have to ask. For instance, you have to ask the finance person, okay, so what's the latest gist on tax? How do I plan my finance in relation to tax? How do I factor in finance, tax issues in relationship with my finance? For human resource, you might need to hire some people. You might need to outsource some jobs to some people. You might need to take some people in as ad hoc staff. You might need to take some people as freelance staff. So all those various aspects of a project. It's a project manager. A project manager has a holistic view of it and knows different key areas to encourage the small business to focus on when beginning the project, so that the person can make accurate decisions.
Okay. So what if you are starting a business and you don't have the resource to hire a project manager? How do you go about that?
Oh, well, you study. You study, or you ask
Can
questions.
Google help?
Google can help. Google can help, but Google might not give you all the help. Google can help. Google will give you an overview of what projects are like. Google will tell you to consider this and consider that. But in Nigeria, not all this. Well, maybe you get some information on project management and how they manage projects in Nigeria on Google. But Google case studies usually uses foreign examples. So, that's it. So ideally, you can hire the services of a project manager. You can just sit down and plan.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, you're just joining us, we see that Tehili and Isiaku have joined, and we can also see that Obionu Tolupe has also joined. So we are discussing implementing project management for small businesses in Nigeria. And Yemisi Alabi, who has over 8 years experience working as a project manager, is discussing this topic. So remember, we are coming live to you from Redalia Workspaces. Redalia is located at 43B Emina Crescent off Toyin Street. And this is our way of giving back to the society. We want to make sure that people have the right knowledge. So back to our topic, implementing project management into small businesses. So Yemisi, how do you implement project management in your small business?
Okay, so to start with, I would like to take this discussion from when a project sponsor or a client has already approved the project. I don't want to start from the pre-project phase so that we don't take so much time. So
we have all the time.
Okay, let me just take you briefly through the project phase. So that means, when you're probably bidding for a contract. I like to tell people that when you're bidding for a job, when you're bidding for a project, if someone is about to execute the project, they're looking for contractors and all of that. Get help. Get information. Ask lawyers. Ask lawyers to read the contract for you. If you have a friend that is a lawyer, ask the person to read it for you. Gather information. Gather expert knowledge. Gather data. Get all that information and accurately capture everything as you bid. Because that will ensure that you won't run into finance issues when the project kicks off. You understand? So Now that is pre-project. Let me start with the project. So essentially, when you start with the project, they've approved the project. And the thing is, a lot of SMEs, people that run businesses, double as business owners and as project managers. So because your business cannot afford to suffer at the expense of the project, because the project has a defined end. If the project is going to be for 2 years, at the end of 2 years, that's it. What happens to your business? So a lot of times I tell SMEs that don't just focus on the project. Give your project its absolute attention, but at the same time,
don't leave your business.
Don't leave your business, exactly. So because the overwhelming burdens that comes with projects could be a strain on the business owner. You get so. A lot of times they say, don't shut down your business at the expense of your project. Once you have your plans in place, allocate a certain amount of time to your business and also allocate a certain amount of time to your project. So when you do that, one of the things you do is you develop a scope statement. A scope statement. Yes. So a scope statement is a document that captures essentially all that the business is going to do, all that the project rather is going to do. It defines the scope description. You define the scope. You capture the scope deliverables. You capture the project deliverables in your scope statement. You also all the constraints, all the assumptions in the project. You capture it. So essentially, if, for instance, I was going to do a project for someone in 2015, 2016, and I saw the way the dollar was rising and stuffs were going off and all that, I would capture that in my assumption because I can already see the fluctuating figures, the figures in dollars and naira. I can see it. So I'm going to capture those kind of assumptions in my project scope statement, that this project is being executed under the assumption that this is the naira value, especially if it's an international project you get. So you capture all of that, all those information in your project scope statement. The deliverables expected, the project description, the constraints, and a number of other things. I can't remember all of them from the top of my head right now. But essentially, that's what you capture in your project scope statement. And that guides you throughout the project. So if you have an assistant, for instance, if you have a small space, you can print that project scope statement, paste it somewhere, and just let your assistant keep looking at it so that you can also chase other projects. You get. So after you develop your scope statement, you start the project. You initiate the project. There are the 5 key phases in project management. There's the initiation phase, there's the planning phase, there's the execution phase, then there's the monitoring and controlling phase, and then there's the project closure phase. So essentially, all projects go through these phases. Whether it's an IT project, it's a construction project, it's a media, name it, it's a software project. For software projects, a lot of them like to use Scrum methodology, but essentially, I'm talking mostly on the PMP methodology. So
what's PMP?
PMP is Project Management Professional. Okay. I'm a Project Management Professional. So essentially, there are different methodologies. So back to my gist. So after your scope statement, you start to plan. That's when you need experts. You plan for cost, you plan for risk. There's something called the risk management plan. There are things called foreseen risk and unforeseen risks. You plan for it. They might occur, they might not occur, but you plan for it. Should it occur, this is the course I will take. If it does not occur, this is the route I will also take. You plan for human resource, you plan for procurement. There's something called a lead time and a lag time. For instance, if you're going to procure something from the US to work with on your project, you have to plan for it. How long does it take to clear customs? Is this item allowed? You need to ask people information. And that's the value of your network. You get your network. Never underestimate your network. Your network is your tool in project management. For instance, you can be working on a project and just have a friend that is a lawyer. Say, guy, come read this thing. I don't understand all this grammar, all this legal grammar. Read it for me. And you could just give me a token. You need all that little help as an SME, especially when you cannot afford, experts. Cost. Yes. So you plan for cost, you plan for risk, you plan for procurements, you plan for time. How do you manage your time? When you begin to exceed the timeline, what do you do? How would you manage that? You plan for human resource. I think I mentioned most of the things you plan for. Yeah. So you plan for all those things at that planning stage. And, as much as possible, get experts to work with. If it's a really simple project, it's fine. But if for instance, on a construction project, my core background is Elect and 3D animation. So I don't know anything about construction. So I have to talk to a construction person. Come talk to me. It's rainy season. I'm going to be executing this construction project during rainy season. What do I need to know? How long is it going to take me? If it's taking me this time in dry season, how am I going to execute this thing in rainy season? What do I need to know? Am I going to need more cement? Am I going to... The construction guy will tell you all that information when you're planning your project. For instance, an electrical guy, I know electrical, but I don't know everything. So, for instance, you hire an electrician. Tell me, what DB board should I use? What DB board? DB is distribution, but what distribution board is the best in the market that I should use on this project? He'll tell you, maybe use Schneider, use this, use that. He'll tell you. He has the right knowledge. So, as much as possible, when you're planning your projects, get experts on board. You can also read from the stories of others. For instance, if you're an events manager and you've never managed maybe a wedding at the beach, find out how do they manage weddings at the beach. I don't know Nigerian meteorological system is accurate, but if it's accurate, let's assume it is accurate, you will check the dates on the meteorological. Is it going to rain that day? If it's going to rain, you begin to make plans for it. It's usually accurate. You begin to make plans for it. Like, okay, it's going to rain on this day. If it's going to rain on this day, what is my plan? The couple has said they want a beach wedding. You have to make it happen somehow. So those are the things you plan for in your planning state, in your planning phase. And then there's the execution phase. For IT projects, for instance, there's a concept in project management that we call scope creep. So scope creep happens when...
What is scope? Can you define the term for people who are just joining?
Okay, scope. I've already defined scope.
No, scope what?
Scope creep.
What is scope creep?
Okay, scope creep. You know the word creep? Creep, CREEP. So scope creep is when... What am I saying? Scope creep is when, your scope begins to have an uncontrolled growth. So what it means is that I have said I'm going to do this for this client, and then the client comes and says, oh, add this to it. Oh, I want this to it. Oh, do this, do that. Now, for IT projects, what happens is, as they begin the IT projects, the way technology is, there's always a new innovation. Yes, okay. There's always a new innovation at the tap of your finger. So what happens is, something might have changed and you're still working on that project, and the client is saying, no, this has changed. Everyone has moved on. This is the new deal, so change it for me. But all of that was not captured in your contract, and that might have an impact on your cost. So essentially, if you don't have an agreement already with the clients that, okay, in the case of technological advancements, we can request for a change in scope. You have a right to tell the client, this is going to be the additional cost for this. Yes, don't be afraid as an SME. Tell the client.
Which is also where you need to really understand the contract that you are signing.
Yes. You need to understand the contract. You need to, even you as a project manager, you're also going to give other people contracts. They're called service level agreements. Your vendors, you give them SLAs. You give the different people contracts. So if you don't understand all the English they have put in the contracts, get
Please.
A person that understands all the legal jargon and let the person read it for you extensively and analyze it. You understand? So you don't run into this issue of scope creep, because when you have scope creep on your project, it's going to impact on your cost, your time, your resources. It's going to impact on almost everything, and you can't afford that as an SME. You're just starting a business, for crying out loud. You understand? So as much as possible, avoid scope creep on your project. So, as I was saying, as you plan the projects, as you proceed on the project, one of the essential tools of the project manager, I've worked on different projects, is the power of influence. You can never underestimate it. If you believe in a project, and that's why I don't take on projects I don't believe in. I know it sounds really awkward. If you're working for an organization, they say, do this project. How you say I can't do it? But one thing I try to do is I do research. I would have extensively researched and asked me, is this project feasible or not? Will it achieve the business objective? If it will not achieve the business objective, there is no point. What I should be working hard at is in convincing my clients or project sponsor, this thing cannot work. But if I have done all my research and I still see that there is a way it can work, of course I'll go ahead and execute the project. So that is one of the things I do as a person. I research my project before I start. And so sometimes, I don't want to give a personal example. Let me use a very personal example. I remember once in my former organization, I had to work on a project, and I remember then my boss wanted us to do 2 simultaneous projects within a time frame. And I said, sir, this thing cannot work. There was going to be a strain on resources, there's going to be a strain on space, there was going to be a constraint on time, there's going to be a constraint on everything. And he wanted us to do those 2 projects within that time frame in about the same location. I had done projects like that before, and I was like, this thing cannot work. I had to sit down, articulate my thoughts, do my research, and I had to present it to him. And he's my boss, he's paying my salary, of course. I had to present it to him in a way that he could see reason and why this cannot work. And so, even as an SME, sometimes your project clients will ask for ridiculous demands. Just because you need the money or you need to execute the project doesn't mean you should accept all the demands. So what you can do is, do your research. If there's strong reason for you not to be able to execute some parts, or there's strong reason why that part cannot work, present it to them. If they still maintain that you deliver on it well, it's on record that you told them that. But as much as possible, give it your best. Give it your best. And so after planning your project, you start to execute. And the execution phase, as much as possible, if you are a business owner and you're the business owner and you're still the project manager, during this execution phase, please get an assistant. As much as possible, get an assistant, because if it's a simple project, you can execute it on your own. But if it's an overwhelming project, you need an assistant. By all means, get one. And if you had done your budgeting and your calculation at the beginning, I'm sure you should be able to have some allowance to be able to pay that person, for assisting you on the project. So essentially, you start to execute your project, and during your project execution, you have, there's something called WBS. I don't want to use all the very big legal franca in project management, but I have to use a few of them so you can understand. There's something called WBS. It's called work breakdown structure. So essentially, it means this big project, this holistic project, how am I going to break it down into little bits? And those little bits will have their deliverables. So for instance, I'm working on a production project, for instance. In production projects, there is the pre-production stage, there is the production stage, and there's the post-production stage. So in my pre-production stage, one of my key deliverables might be a storyboard. One of my key deliverables, maybe on an animation project, can be an animatic. So if I'm doing an advertising project or a branding project, one of my key deliverables might be my design options. So for instance, if I'm doing a design project, I'm giving them the options first. I won't just say this is what the clients will want and then I go on to do the other things. So that's a key deliverable on a design project. For a animation project, for instance, the storyboard or the animatic is a key deliverable, because you're showing the client or you're showing the interface person, this is what the final project is going to look like. Are you fine with it? What do you want us to tweak in this? Usually, all those companies have a representative. The CEO might not have your time, all those other, but they'll have a key representative you're interfacing with. And so that person is also looking at that deliverable, if they're satisfied with it or not. Don't just start a project and just keep running the project and just assume that the client will be fine with it, he'll be fine with it. No. There are reports along the line. There's something called the progress report. There's something called the status report. So a progress report, for instance, tells the client that this is our project progress so far. This is the progress we have made. And then after maybe your own is a monthly progress report that you provide your clients with. This is the progress we have made up until this point. When you go to the next one, you say from that last point to this point, this is the progress we have also made. And you need to give the client a true picture of happenings. For instance, I remember my very first project. It was the CNG mother station we were working. CNG is compressed natural gas. So it was the CNG mother station we were working on for a client. And that was when Occupy Nigeria happened. So that, I think Occupy Nigeria was for like a week or two. We didn't know Occupy Nigeria was going to happen. As at the time they signed off on the project, everything was absolutely fine. You understand? So all those hitches and glitches come, during the course of your projects. And as a project manager, your ability to manage your communication interface, both with your clients and with your human resource, is key. So for instance, during that period, as a project manager and as an SME owner, will you force your staff to start coming from maybe Mowe or Ibafo or Ogunste, wherever, to your location? There was no transportation. Lagos was literally locked down during that period, and there was nothing anybody could do. So, all those little hitches come during the project, but your ability to manage it and also interface with your clients so that they see a true picture of what is happening is key. So you give your clients, key deliverables along the line. And there's something in project management called a milestone. A milestone is like an achievement. It has a zero duration. It's an achievement. It means, for instance, we plan to maybe train, let's say I'm on a training project and I plan to train maybe 8,000 people in Sokoto State, for instance. Now, when I train 1,000, I could say, I could tell my client that, every time I train 1,000, that's my milestone. And so I'll get it back to you. I'll give you that feedback. Mm-hmm. And so after training 1,000 people, I'll tell my client, we have trained 1,000 people. This is a documentation. That's an achievement. Sometimes, you were going to say something?
No.
Okay. So sometimes, milestones are. So sometimes on my project, sometimes I pop. I won't say I don't pop anything. When I achieve my milestones, I have fun with my teammates. I have fun with them. Maybe we can pop something. We can have a good time. Because you need to encourage your team members when you're on a project. They need to be as passionate about it as you are. So that I'm passionate about a project is not important. What is important is that the people that are working with me are as passionate about it as I am. And if you're a solo person running your project alone without any assistance, although I don't recommend that, celebrate yourself too when you achieve a milestone. Maybe you take yourself out, just do something. It's a milestone, it's an achievement. Document it. If your clients, I know on some projects, some clients pay by milestone. You understand? So they can say, you're building a 10-floor story building. You've done all the electricals. Or maybe by the time you finish screeding, you've done all the electricals, and maybe by the time you finish screeding might be a major milestone. By the time you finish the entire screeding, we'll pay you this sum. Some projects, go through that route. Some projects say, you're managing my event. By the time you secure the venue, maybe the venue is a venue that is always in high demand. By the time you secure the venue, maybe the venue to them might be a key milestone. They might decide, okay, let's just pay you at this milestone. So, there are different projects go through different kind of processes. They go through different stages. There's no one rule fits all. You understand? So, essentially, that's it. So, as you begin to plan and execute your project, there is no guarantee that everything will go according to plan. And just relax. It doesn't mean you are a bad project manager. It just means that that's life. Even me, in all my years of project management, some things will just not go according to plan. You can't help it. You understand? So essentially, at that point, your emotional intelligence and your management of your person is key. So if something is failing at a point, you don't just go berserk. You manage yourself. Because your clients too, you have the capacity to pass on that fear to your clients.
Exactly.
So you have to contain yourself, contain your team members, and continue in the project. And so essentially, let me give an example. My last project, I had a timeline, and so we're preparing for a concert, and it was a huge concert. So one of the key elements in the concert is the stage, and the stage was really massive, and so the stage was supposed to be going up at certain heights, and then you put extra trusses with the light and all that. So there was this particular day, the stage was supposed to go maybe by another 2-meter height, and it was hooked. It wasn't going, and we had worked so hard. We had expatriates with us. We had different people with us, and really we needed that stage to go to this last level so that by the next day we'll start hooking up the trusses and the lights. And the thing was just stuck there. And the expressions were just going, we didn't know what was happening. And for the life of me, I knew my guys were tired. And I just had to say, God, just help me. God, just let this thing go up. And we had to stay there till really late. So at that point, if I was panicking, I had to, because my team members, my teammates, were interested in the project and the project success as much as I was. They were willing to sacrifice their time. And that's where influence comes. Your ability to influence your team members to see the big picture like you. So that when those hitches and glitches occur, you can contain it. Everyone can still stay. They can sacrifice to make the bigger picture work. So they stayed back. We found that we went to bed really late that night. But essentially, the roof went up at the end of the day. So that's key when you're executing your projects. Also, in project management, there's something called project scheduling. And in scheduling, I'm saying a lot of things. In scheduling, there's project scheduling. So in project scheduling just means that I'm scheduling my project. There are different activities that would occur. For instance, if I'm building a road, right, I would not pour asphalt if I've not yet poured concrete or if I've not yet compacted the ground. You get? So when And in project scheduling, there's a tool called Gantt chart. Some people use Excel sheets, whatever works for you. Don't complicate your processes. You're an SME. Don't stress it. Just make sure that you have it outlined. For instance, you're managing maybe a wedding. Let me use examples we can relate to. You have to secure the venue, and then book the decorator, and then book the light guy, and then book the that's how the sequence occurs. You understand? And so in project scheduling, we have some activities that are called start to start activities. Some are start to finish. Start to start says, as this one starts, this can also start. Yeah. Start to finish says, if this does not start, it has this starts, this finishes before the other can occur. That means this activity must start and end before this one can occur. You understand? So for instance, this beautiful building in Redalia Workspace, they have to finish building it before we can paint it. You understand? We can't start painting when they haven't screeded. You understand? So those are start to finish kind of tasks. And then they are finish to finish tasks. And then they are start to finish. Okay, so those are the basic scheduling methods. So, and that's where planning happens.
And that means that the ones that are start to finish, they have to keep to time so that the order
will not be delayed. Yes, essentially, so that will not be delayed. So that's it. And then as you manage your project, the one thing I want to even tell SMEs is this: when you're managing a project, please don't abandon your core business. It has a defined time and end. And what that means is that what some SMEs do is this: they've done all their calculation. They know that their profit at the end of the project is maybe 2 million, for instance. They now say, okay, my profit is already 2 million. And maybe the clients, let's assume the cost of the project is 10 million and their profit is 2 million. So that means they've already budgeted that to be 8 million they will need to execute the project. They don't say, and maybe the client has given them 7 million. They say, my profit is 2 million. Let me just take this 2 million and put it in this other business and continue so that one will bring money. And then they come to you. No, please. No, don't do that. That can hurt your business because there are unforeseen risks that you do not know that would occur. So you have budgeted 2 million as your profit. You have done all the mathematics. Absolutely fine. But that doesn't mean that you won't have hitches along the way. And so if you begin to take your profit from the project and begin to pour it in your business, you might run into financial glitches along the line. And if your project sponsor or client has said, I'm not giving you a balance till you finish the project, what are you going to do? You're going to go borrowing. And then you're borrowing and then you're accumulating figures in interest. So please avoid that as much as possible. End the project. Don't bank on. You can touch your profit as much as you like once the project ends. And you might need, and as much as possible, pay yourself. If you're the business owner, you're the project manager, pay yourself on the project as project manager. Do you understand? So you're running a project. Put it there. In your cost management plan, let it be there. Project manager's salary, this amount, and pay yourself a salary every month, because this is what this is where a lot of SMEs go, and live within the confines of your salary, so that you're not touching project finance anyhow. You understand? Separate your project, your project funds from your business funds until the project is over, so that you don't run into issues. This is very key for SMEs. I know a lot of times finance is a challenge. You need money to push some other things. If the salary you're paying yourself as a project manager on the projects cannot be used to push those other businesses, then leave it, or take funds to borrow and use those funds to borrow to run that business, and ensure that the profit you make on that business is enough to cater for the funds you have borrowed and the interest. Okay, so please note that as SMEs, don't be careful with your spending on a project, because projects are dynamic. There is no this is how it is, this is how it's going to go, especially in a country like Nigeria that you cannot predict a lot of things. You understand? Imagine, okay, let me leave it as that. So another major problems that I don't know, I'm talking about all the problems. Let me talk about implementation. So as you continue to implement your project, you also have what is called let me talk about execution. As you're executing the project, sometimes clients request for key deliverables during your execution phase. You need to make sure that you're giving it to them as they require it. And so, for instance, I don't know, which example can I use? I don't want to use too many construction examples. So if you're there watching and you have an SME example that you want us to use, feel free to ask us. Mm-hmm. Feel free to pop it on that. For instance, on this project, how would I handle this? How would I handle that? Feel free to
Don't just watch. Ask questions. This is your time.
So, So that's it. So as you manage your project, ensure that you're executing, you're meeting, you're working with your timeline. Now, one thing, there's a concept called fast tracking and crashing a project. I don't want to go into that. But basically, once you begin to see that your project might not meet the deadline, you might need to hire, there's what they call, you hire people to maybe make it faster, or you collapse a lot of projects that needed to have worked, just wait for this to finish, wait for that to finish, but could also work concurrently. You collapse this project to work concurrently, or you get extra hands and get extra resources to make the project work. Now, the get extra hands and get extra resources is called fast track, and that could cost you a little more. But essentially, what's the target? Target is to meet up with your project and to deliver on the project, meet up with key deliverables. And so that's the end game. And if that's the end game, I need to give it everything it takes to meet the end game, then you need to do it. So that's it.
All right. So, I want to thank
questions.
I want to ask thank the people who have joined, Ahoroyin, Jessica, Kingsley, and other people who are joining, and even on Instagram. Thank you, Orator, the Bottled Woman, and Tismanot. Thanks for joining. So basically, we have a question. Great talk. So has 3 questions.
I can't see from.
Okay, so I'm going to read it. In your years of experience as project manager, what is the major challenge working on a project in Nigeria? That is one question. Then all right.
Okay. So let me answer. Tehile, I don't ask the questions, so I'll answer your questions one after the other. So in Nigeria, my major challenge has been timeline. Yeah, managing my projects within the time frame, and having the project, maybe I'm working under an organization, having them give me absolute control over the project. Now the truth is that a lot of business owners run organizations and they have hired a project manager, but even with the fact that they've hired a project manager, they want to be seeing everything. It's really agitates project managers.
It actually agitates you, but that is how entrepreneurs are. They really want to make sure that you are doing it, and sometimes you ask, why did they even hire you in the first place?
So most times I always give reports. I like to give reports because I feel the progress reports enables the project owner or my boss see the progress on the project. But sometimes like, oh, let me see this. Oh, let me see. Oh, buttoning. Business owners should please, if you've hired a project manager, you already trust the competence of the project manager to deliver. So just give the person the liberty to deliver. If the person, but also make a communication, gap. So make a room for communication so that the project manager can always approach you when he or she envisages problems on the project or when things are going to happen. Another major problem I face in Nigeria managing projects is unrealistic timelines. Someone will come to you and say, do this building in 3 days. Are you kidding me? In Nigeria today, in Lagos, maybe in Port Harcourt, for instance, and there's always heavy rainfall, and you're telling me, how do you want me to do it? How? So some business owners expect magic. And as an SME, I also want to say this: when you're approaching, when they're going to give you a project, don't give them unrealistic timelines. They want you, the clients want you to say you can deliver it within this time frame. You can, but as an SME that it is humanly impossible to deliver it on that time frame. Be realistic and tell them. But some business owners, what they do is they just get the project and don't worry. You already know that you cannot deliver on the project. Don't worry, I will do the project, but I will not deliver within that time frame.
But that will even hurt your brand.
It will hurt your brand, yes.
Because if you are not delivering, like I
within
can't give
timeline.
you a project and you are mixing with a timeline.
Timelines, yes.
Okay, so the second question, what are the top 3 skills that you advise an SME project manager to have?
Okay. So I'm assuming that this is a business owner that is also managing the projects on his or herself. One key skill and advice you have is you need great interpersonal skills. Great interpersonal skills means your ability to communicate with everybody and anybody. So sometimes I work on a project, I'm talking with an artisan, and it's pidgin I need to speak. I have to speak in pidgin. If I'm working with a C-level executive and I have to send mails, I have to craft my mails in such a way that I am communicating with that C-level executive at their level. You understand? So great interpersonal and communication skills is 1. 2 is excellent planning skills. You have to have your I don't want to use the word shit together. You have to have yourself together. You have to plan. You have to settle down. Sometimes when I want to plan, I shut down from every other thing. I am alone in my room and I'm just writing it out. I'm calling people, things I don't understand. If I think it will take cement maybe 4 days to cure, and the project I'm working on, the cement is not curing. I'm calling people, I'm planning, I'm doing all those things, behind the scenes. So planning is a key essential skill that every project manager needs. Interpersonal skills, great interpersonal and communication skills, excellent planning skills, and I know what would I call the third one now. Just work with those two for now.
And you have to also be very strategic in your planning. So, and the third question, PMP, Prince 2, Agile Project Management, which certification do you advise me to go for?
So all these certifications you have mentioned, PMP, Prince 2, and Agile, they're just methodologies. So for me, I'm PMP certified. I'm a project management professional and I have my license number. And essentially in Nigeria as a terrain, what seems to be the mainstream, what seems to be the methodology deployed here is PMP. And PMP methodology is different from Prince 2. In the UK, Prince 2 is the methodology that is usually adopted. And Agile, I haven't studied Agile, so I don't know the details of Agile project management. But I know that a number of IT projects, research projects, sometimes use Agile methodology. And so, but for PMP cuts across the board. So for me, to me, I've gone for Prince 2 training and PMP training. And quite frankly, PMP is really basic. It has a lot of stories, but once you sit down, read it, and understand it, you get the gist. And once you get the gist, you get it for life. So PMP is an easy tool for me. That's what I use. It's the methodology I started with. It's the methodology I use, and you can use it too, especially because it's mainstream in Nigeria. But if you're handling international projects, maybe in the UK, maybe an IT project or whatever it is, you can decide to use Prince 2 as well.
Okay, so Jessica said that you're right, a good manager needs to be proactive. Yes, you have to be proactive. And thank you, Chinedu, and thank you, Funke, for joining. So I'd like to also, we were talking about project management, implementing project management as if like the projects that we are working on is like bringing the sky down. It is not those kind of projects, Getting a new, just like we are running a co-working space, trying to move into another, getting a new place is a project. It shouldn't be far away from you. So running a small business, how do you implement project management? So basically, I'd like to think that project management is not basically, of course, I know it's a tool with the certification, but I'd like to think about it like a process. So even if you don't have a project, in quotes, running your business, how can you implement project management skills into your business to make sure that whatever you are doing on time? How do you do that?
Okay, so essentially, as a small business, your food, you could be running a food business. It could be that you're running a logistics business. Whatever business it is, the essential thing is to plan. A project manager sits down and plan and says, what do I want to achieve? This is the end game. This is what I want to achieve. What do I need to do to get there? And you actually take your time to itemize it and plan for it and begin to execute. So it is that breakdown of plans that helps you run the project. Remember, a project has a defined beginning and end. It's not a business operation. Business operation is ongoing. So I'm looking for simple businesses I can use. Someone that's maybe running a tomato business, for instance, to maybe people in Lekki, delivering tomato and tatashe cleaned and all that. So for instance, maybe that's kind of an operation. But if you're running it for a period of time, you could plan for it. For instance, there's something called program management. Program management is running multiple projects at the same time. So program management is running multiple related projects. So what that means is, for instance, I deliver sand. For instance, let's say I'm a sand person. I do sand delivery, and I have
a person delivering wood.
Let's say I deliver sand, and then I have sand delivery here. I have sand delivery there. I have sand delivery there. I can leverage on, and maybe they want the same kind of sand. I can leverage on the fact that it is the same kind of project. They all require the same thing. So I leverage my resources, I leverage my team, I leverage on everything to make sure that I achieve the best in terms of efficiency, on all my deliveries. So essentially, if you have multiple projects that are related, what you can do is, I'm looking for a very basic example that is not an operation. What you can do is leverage on your resources and use them optimally on all those projects so that they deliver well and you can smile better to the bank. So,
all right. So also SME project, according to Tahili, is an SME project could be launching a marketing campaign.
Yes, that could be especially since we're in the campaign year.
Yes, exactly.
So you plan for it.
So basically, I think we are rounding up implementing project management into your business. So whether you have a project separate from your business or you are running a business, what I've learned today is that you can implement a management process. So let's just say, for instance, running a co-working space, we can come up and say, okay, we want to do training. We want to make sure that we've already started this training today. What are the things that we need to run the training? The facilitators, do we need sponsors? That's a project.
Yes.
Even running your business as well. Let's say you have a makeup business, for instance. So you have to come up with, okay, today we are going to advertise, tomorrow, just those things. Putting processes in place in running your business are the ways that you can implement project management strategies, and it actually makes things very easy for you. So one more question before we go. What are the challenges that one may face? An organization who has not implemented project management, what are the challenges that they may face in trying to implement that process in their business?
Okay, so as they say, if you don't plan, you will fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So that's the summary. So if you don't plan, you're going to run into finance issues. That's a major challenge SMEs run into, because you have not taken time to see what this project is going to entail, what is going to cost me in terms of human resource. There's something in project management that we call the triple constraints, which is scope, time, cost, and quality. They're called competing constraints. They're always competing. So if you're trading off time, you're going to probably be compromising on quality. If you're trading off quality, you're compromising on cost. Everything is interrelated. So one of the problems you'll face is if you don't take your time to plan your cost, plan your time, plan your resources, plan all those things, you'll be trading off quality. And if you're trading off quality and your deliverables are not on point with your clients, you have lost. You might have delivered on a project, but you have lost future projects with the clients. So that's one of the challenges SMEs face when they don't take the concept of project management and executing their projects. You run into serious issues with cost as it relates to scope, time, and all of that. And then you also run into the risk of project failure. So a project success is not that we have done the project and we have submitted. A project success means that this was what they asked us to do, and we have delivered this project within the cost, the quality, the time, and within the scope. You understand? So project success is not, you told me to do this building, I've done it. I'll check the quality. Is this how you're supposed to do your screening? Is this how you're supposed to do your finishing? Is this how you're supposed to do the wiring? Has it met with the standard set? And that is the definition of project success. Project success is not finishing the project, but finished. That is not project success. Project success is, this is what the client asked of me. And me, as a project manager, based on what I have itemized as the cost that I'm going to use to run the project, the time I'm going to use to run, did I meet up with these things, with these metrics? You get, if you haven't met up with that metrics, you have actually failed. Yes, you've delivered within the time. Yes, you have given the project, you've given the clients the product or whatever it is, but you haven't really fulfilled the essentials of project management, and haven't really succeeded on the project. So that's it. Last one. One of the challenges SMEs face is organizational structure. You need to have structure, and structure is not until your business is big. I'm currently working on a project, and I insist on structure. I honestly, I insist on it, because if you have 3-4 people working with you, they don't have to be 20 to have structure in place. But once you, as a project manager, once you can enforce and insist on structure, everyone aligns. Exactly. So as much as possible on your projects, insist on structure. Structure is, this is how it should be done. For instance, when I'm working on some projects, I'll tell them, don't send me any documents on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is not my communication channel for documents. If it's not emailed to me, I will not recognize it. That is new. Please, you don't have to adopt my strategy. But structure must be put in place. Don't give people, because we are Nigerians. If you don't put structure, anything goes. And anything goes cannot work on a project, because they're predefined objectives, they're predefined metrics, and they're predefined deliverables that you must deliver, you must give. And so you can't afford to run it anyhow. So put your structures in place. Ensure that you have accurate finance systems as well, such that there's no clash in your competing constraints on cost, quality, time, and effort. And also ensure that what was the last thing I said?
All right. Anyway. So while you're thinking about the last thing you said, so Chinedu Badia said, can we get a practical view of how project management impacts on SME?
Okay, hello Chinedu. So, how project management impacts on SMEs? Okay, I am saying this because I'm assuming SMEs want to execute the project, and not that project management as a methodology is infringing on SMEs. So that's how I understand your question.
I think it's different. I think how if you're running a small business and you are applying project management in your process of running your business, how will it impact on your business? Chinedu, if we got your question correctly, can you let us know? So we are going to answer it from this angle. Yes.
Okay, essentially, as I've said before, a business is an ongoing concern. It's run based on operations. However, if your business is a projectized business, which means that all you work on is how your business runs is based on projects. You don't you don't do business development, you don't do all those things. You just run your business based on projects. That means it's possible that as an SME, you might be having 3 projects running at the same time, one project running at a time, or multiple projects. So project management helps you plan, and once you can plan and once you can stick to the plan, and you insist that scope creep does not occur, you're going to be smiling to the bank. That's one of the major impacts. If you can adopt project management as a methodology accurately, you're going to be smiling to the bank. Because if you don't, things like risk, you won't plan for risk, and risk will happen. What do? You won't plan for procurement, and you have to procure some things. And for instance, if you're procuring some things, there's some items I think in Nigeria that when you procure, you incur insurance on it. So you don't want to start getting to the point of procurement and then you discover that you have to be paying insurance. There's some things you do if you're a service-based business, and you're getting projects from a client. If you don't factor in tax, the day the tax people are going to come knocking, you're going to be in trouble. So these are the different subtle impacts, negative impacts that you can have on your business. But positive impacts, you'll be smiling to the bank, and you'll definitely get referrals. When you execute your project well as an SME, you'll get referrals. Trust me. That's how a lot of events management companies started. They did one wedding absolutely well, and then they started getting referrals. And so one of the major impacts is you'll get referrals. You'll be smiling to the bank. You have the financial impact will be huge. And then for you as a person, you have peace of mind. That's an impact too. You have peace of mind, and your SME is positioned for growth. And if it's a structure you stick to over time, you become more confident to take on bigger projects. So those are the things I can say as the impacts on SME.
All right. Chinedu, I hope we answered your question satisfactory.
Instagram people are not.
Yes. Okay. Instagram people are just waving at us. Okay. So I'd just like to chip in something on that. And what I want to say, if you're an SME and you are not running a project, in quotes, if you apply a project management methodology in running your business, is going to also affect the way things are. First of all, it's going to impact in your culture. So basically, all the people that you are working with, if they know there are timelines, they know the scope of what they need to do, and they know when to deliver, it will help in process. It will also help in building structure around your business apart from the culture, and it will also make your organization and your brand stand out, and that way you can even go out and bid for more businesses. So I think that is it. We don't have any other questions. Amy said, is there any other thing that you are yet to cover? So Facebook Live every Monday morning at 10 a.m. So this is born out of the fact that we have been running businesses, and we feel that we have a lot of misinformation out there, and it is a burden in our hearts to try to help people as a way of giving back, as a way of corporate social responsibility on our part. So all this knowledge that we have, we don't want to go anywhere with it. We want to share it with you. That is why we always come every Monday, and we've been doing this across discipline. So last week we talked about how to commercialize your skill. So today we are speaking on project management. We want to touch every area so that anybody will have something that is unique to you, something that you will apply. So it's also for us to know that you don't really have to sit down and wait on a job to come. You can do something. These are things that you pay so much money to get from business schools. I know how much business schools cost, so but we are giving this for free, you know, just for you to better your life. If you are already running a business, you can do better with your business. If you are not already running a business, if you are already employed, we also have something for you. Or if you are looking to join entrepreneurship one day, we also have something for you. But we just want to make sure that what we are giving you is right, and the people that are giving you all this are people who are doing good in their own discipline. Yemisi has over 8 years experience in project management. I could just okay, Chinedu said good and wonderful response. I could just come and talk about project management, but I think that she is better suited to speak about the topic because that is her core discipline, you know. So we are coming live to you from Redalia Workspaces, 43B Emina Crescent off Tony Street. So if you have the time, come in and check what we are about. We have training rooms, we have boardrooms, we have workspaces that you can come and rent for a day for as low as 2,000 naira. And then if you also have challenges with your business, if you need to sit down with us, if you need to consult with us, just call us on 081-881-22223. And again, we are all about being everything to the entrepreneur. So if you also need to register your business, as in starting a business, if you're starting, you know, it's just easy. As you start, you have a name, but as that name starts getting traction, somebody might register it one day. So once you start, it's also better that you put a structure to your business by registering it. And for just 25,000 naira, we can help you secure a business name. Thank you, Yemisi, so
Let me give
much.
your viewers a freebie.
Okay, wow, all right.
So any SME watching right now, if you're running a project, I'm going to give 3 SMEs free consulting, free project planning, and I'll just work with you throughout the end of your project. Free, all free. If you're an SME and you're currently running a project or you need help with a project, I'll work with you for free.
Wow.
Only 3 SMEs.
So I can see Ayabami here watching. Can you take up this free offer? All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
I really appreciate. Thanks for honoring our request. And see you next Monday at 10 a.m. Bye.